Okay, good evening and welcome everybody. Always exciting Tuesday nights to have our special guests. And tonight we have with us Rabbi Federman, who is Chabad in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So first of all, Rabbi, thank you very much. Really appreciate your taking time to speak with us. Welcome to our Torah in 10 and special guest Tuesday night. So thank you for coming on and being with us. And again, I apologize. I don't know, I got a little laryngitis going on here. So thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. How long have you been in the Virgin Islands?
We've been in the Virgin Islands for 16 years now.
Oh, wow. So what goes on in the Virgin Islands? Meaning, is there a Jewish community there? How many Jews are there? Or do they live there? They just come there for vacation, for business? What is it like? I mean, we're here in Chicago. We know what a structured Jewish community looks like. What does the Jewish community, is there a Jewish community in the Virgin Islands?
So actually the Virgin Islands has a long history of Jews, which dates back to the late 1600s. Jews that fled from Spain to Portugal, ended up in Caribbean islands, and then ultimately established somewhat of a community here in the late 1600s, early 1700s. There's a historical synagogue here built in the 1700s by Sephardic Jews who came to the island. It's a historical monument. It's a beautiful synagogue. And there's also a lot of rich Jewish history. There have been 3 Jewish governors here on the island. There was a period of time where half of the white population on the island was Jewish. It's about 400 to 600 Jews that lived here. And then a combination of the weather, natural disasters, other factors, it's waxed and waned, gone from, down to 50, 25, and then back up. And then in the 1960s is when the island really started booming. It became the tourism mecca that it is today, which is also attributed to a Jewish governor, Governor Ralph Paiwansky. That's when a lot of Jewish people started coming. The nature also of the community changed from the old Sephardic community to becoming more of an Ashkenazic community. People that came from New York, from the Midwest, from other places, established themselves here. The Jewish people, the Jewish community still are very involved in the infrastructure. Today, there's approximately 300 to 400 Jews that live in St. Thomas full-time. And it's a real goulash and a mix of all types of Jews that live here, different backgrounds from different places. You have from this, just let me preface also so you have somewhat of an understanding for those of you who haven't been to the Caribbean and to St. Thomas in particular. It's a little island, 9 miles by 3 miles. Literally a rock in the middle of the ocean. And it's like a shtetl over here. Everybody knows everybody, especially when my wife and I walk around with the children, with our yarmulke and tzitzis, there aren't many like us who are walking in the streets, and everybody knows who we are. And then the Jewish community is made up from, on a much smaller scale than a place of Chicago or other areas. You have some Jewish doctors, you have some Jewish lawyers, you have some Jewish real estate agents, and then you have, just people that, appreciate nature, appreciate the water, people that are coming here for a year, 2-year gig just to work in a restaurant, a dive shop or whatever it is. And then that's one segment is the local community that's here. Another segment is the cruise ship industry. St. Thomas is the biggest port in the Caribbean. And in good days, I say good days pre-COVID, we had 5-6 ships that would come in a day, a couple thousand people on each ships. The population of the island would double with tourists. And that was also a very big part of our shlichus, of our work here in the islands, meeting the people coming off the ships. We had a Jewish welcome center in town where people would come in, have a kosher bite, and put on tefillin, do a mitzvah, learn a little bit about the history of the Jewish of the island, send their rabbi a postcard from the Caribbean, especially if it's cold out back in Chicago. then give them a little push to come out here as well on vacation. And then there's the third segment, I would say, is people that are visiting in hotels and people that have timeshares and winter homes here, which is also pretty significant.
So what's your story? How did you wind up making the Virgin Islands your shlichus?
It was either Siberia or St. Thomas. So
smart choice. You made the smart choice.
But after my wife and I, after we got married, we settled down after our Sheva Brachas, inspired with the Rebbe's message, reaching out to the farthest corners of the world, making sure that every single Jew feels connected and has a place to celebrate their Jewishness, connect with their Jewish heritage. We Googled all the countries in the world. Where is there a Jewish community and where is there no Chabad? And we were left at the time with Luxembourg, Cuba, Iran wasn't quite an option, South Korea, a couple of other places. And we decided that we're zeroing into Cuba. We were looking for a challenge. We were looking for, we wanted to put the flag in new territory, something that would be would be difficult. And we thought that Cuba would be a great place, definitely a challenge. That's how we got to the Caribbean locale. And then from Cuba, it ended up in the Virgin Islands. And, we came here the first time, knew very little about the Caribbean, were surprised by the frequent blackouts over here, the roads, and just life over here on the islands. And we made this our home. That was it. We met a couple of Jews. They were interested. They were looking to learn more about their heritage. There were Jewish visitors that were here. And we said, that's it, one-way ticket. We bought a plot in the Jewish cemetery. And we said, we're going to make it happen till Mashiach comes.
Amen. So you arrived in the U.S. Virgin Islands 16 years ago. Well, how did you get started?
How did we get started? So the Rebbe in the early, in the 50s, started this kind of Chabad Peace Corps program where young students would go out to remote communities where the possibility at the time of establishing a presence wasn't thought of and wasn't possible. And they would go out in the summertime for a couple of weeks and just meet with the Jewish communities in these remote locales. And just to tell them, to share with them, that Hashem hasn't forgot about them. If they need a pair of tefillin, if they need Shabbos candles, to communicate with the children, to keep in touch with them. And they created somewhat of a like a database in these locations, in these places of different Jews that they met and the interest in these communities. So I would say that first of all, that those notes were very helpful for us. And there were a couple of folks that also had requested from Chabad headquarters that a shliach move down here. But more than that, it was like, we just picked up the phone book. You saw, a Goldberg, a Weinstein, somebody that sounded like a definite Jewish name, picked up the phone, called them and, hey, we're here. We'd love to meet with you. We'd love to celebrate together. Initially, people were very skeptical, the rabbi with a black hat and a coat, a jacket, walking around in the heat wasn't, something that people were quite used to down here. But, we stopped people on the streets and, then I also got a little smart. I realized that if I need a lawyer, I might as well call somebody Jewish. They can't hang up on me and, we'll have to get together and I'll have to invite him for Shabbos dinner. He can't say no, and slowly we met more and more people. And like I said, it's a small island. There's a shtetl feeling here. The word got around that we're not monsters and, that it's okay to hang out with us. And more and more people started coming and slowly we built a Jewish community. And I would say one of the interesting things is that, whereas in the larger Jewish communities, there are hundreds of thousands and rather thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of Jews that live there. There's only that much that a rabbi in Rebbitzin, so many people that they can have a personal relationship with and a constant ongoing interactions with. Even though there's a small Jewish community here, 300-400 Jews, we're in touch with probably 85% of the Jews that we know that live here, which is a very, very significant number and keeps us busy and on our toes all the time.
So you mentioned about, the students would come to fill in Shabbos dinner. How do you get stuff? How do you get to fill in? How do you get kosher chicken? It's not like you can drive, even if you were willing to drive hours. It's like you get in the car and drive. We've had shluchim from all over remote parts of the United States. They talk about once a month. They drive 3-4 hours. How do you get it to the Virgin Islands?
Everything is shipped into the islands. We have a routine. It took some time to figure it out, but by now we have it down pat. And we have a routine where kosher meat comes in, kosher food comes in, all of the Jewish tefillin or mezuzahs, matzahs. We have a couple of friends. We're lucky enough, who are flying down here. Will give us a call, tourists, beforehand and ask us if we need anything. They're gracious enough to bring things here. But, I think that challenge was a lot more difficult back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, even, or later than that, when the earlier shluchim moved out. Today, the world is smaller. Also, there's not much that is produced on the island itself, other than some good rum and a couple of other things. But even the supermarkets here, they pretty much everything is shipped in. So, we're kind of in good company with that. And, it's kind of the process down here. You got to wait. You have to be patient. Things take time. But you make it happen.
So what do you do? COVID suddenly arrives in March 2020. You talked about the tourists. You talked about having to get things shipped in. If you need a mile, you need to fly them down. And then COVID comes and the whole world stops. What happened to Chabad in the Virgin Islands? And what's the ongoing circumstance with COVID? How did it affect you?
I think COVID affected us pretty much like it affected everybody else in terms of our local community. We hunkered down, a lot of Zoom and communicating with people virtually, making sure obviously to reach out to people who were isolated all the time. The big difference also was tourism. There were many months where tourism came to a complete stop. All the hotels were closed. The cruise ship industry is still suffering from COVID. Every time they start having large ships coming in, there's an outbreak. So Main Street, which is the source of the economy in the Virgin Islands, took a very hard hit in the last 2 years and was a ghost town for the last while. Slowly, the ships are starting to trickle in now, and we're seeing more of a revitalization. I would say also something interesting that after maybe the first year of COVID, or when things started to loosen up, and other countries were closed, other islands were closed, the Virgin Islands had somewhat of a laxer than other islands in terms of, just being able to produce a negative PCR and being able to come in. So we saw an influx of tourists, and Jewish tourists especially, that were just itching to get away and to get out, that were able to come here more than usually. And last year, by January, February, March, there were times where we had to rent out a room in a hotel, ballroom in a hotel. We had minyanim with 90, 100 people, which is not at all regular over here. On an average Shabbos, we got to scratch together our 10. So, that's what it is. And there's still restrictions. Hanukkah, we weren't able to do a concert. We have usually an annual big concert. We bring down the Maccabees or Eighth Day, one of the big bands. We couldn't find a place that would allow us to have a group congregate more than, I think the number now is fluctuates between 50 to 100 people. So, we're just being cautious, careful, trying to respect everybody's minhagim and everybody's concerns and, the varieties of opinion to make sure that everyone, is comfortable to come to the Chabad house. And, we're just flowing with the guidance.
So you've been there 16 years. What would you say is the biggest challenge And what would you say is the biggest reward of being Chabad of the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Well, I would say that the sense of isolation at times, where there's nowhere to go, is a very big challenge. Just living on an island. Our children's education is something which really needs to keep us on our toes. And I want to mention that Razel was here in the in the summer or during the holiday period, and is here now also, who has been a tremendous help.
That's how we finally got Rabbi Federman on. That was a condition.
It was her push. Absolutely. I couldn't say no. I think that our children's education is a very big challenge. And, it's not just, today there's virtual, there's the online school, but, Kenai Hara, we're a family of 12. And to make sure to keep up with each child and to give them the attention that they need, they don't have it necessarily from teachers virtually as much as they would have it in regular schooling. I would say that is our biggest challenge, is to maintain a strong Hasidic Yiddish identity on the island for the children in a healthy, wholesome way, where we can give them, each one of them, the attention, the homework, the work that, whatever it is that they need. It's a very, very big challenge, and juggling that with all of our other responsibilities. What is the greatest reward? Like I was mentioning, that one of the difficulties, or not difficulties, but I guess, it's when we moved into this shlichus, we didn't know what we were to expect. Some people move to a place and, they find that their capabilities and their strengths are in teaching, are in organizational skills, are in, dealing with young children, preschools. And when you come to a place like this, there's many times where you just have to flow with the punches, or you have to flow with the circumstances, because there's a lot that changes. We had a hurricane in 2017, which devastated the island. 40% of the island left. Many have come back. A lot of our Jewish community left. It's a small Jewish community. We've had years where we've had preschools. We've had years where we've had to focus and emphasize on other areas. And the island itself also, coming from Los Angeles, growing up in Los Angeles, my wife growing up in Milwaukee, quite a difference, city people. And when you live on the island, you get used to living with whatever there is and becoming very solution oriented. You go shopping, you need to put together a menu, and you go to this store and it's not available, and the other store and it's not available. And, you have to be very resourceful. And as I grow, and as we continue to live this life, we realize what type of blessing it is in terms of our personal growth. And, in terms of also needing to surrender more to Hashem, and to recognize that, appreciate what you have, be thankful for what you have, and be resourceful with what you have. And I think that is the greatest reward, is our children growing up in such an environment, the simplicity of it. I think that is a tremendous reward, and we're delighted and thankful that our children have that opportunity as well to grow from that and to have that type of upbringing and education.
I'm sorry, I apologize for my laryngitis. I really want to thank you. I really appreciate your time. Can you give us one quick story that maybe represents what life is like for Chabad of the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Sure. So every Hanukkah, we bring down a group of students, and we station them in different areas of the island to hand out menorahs to the many Jewish visitors that come. Sometimes they give out 1,000 menorahs, 1,500 menorahs, depending on the year, depending on the season. Put tefillin on visitors that come down. And, you're standing on the street, they're giving out menorahs. You never know the power of one single encounter and action towards another person. And we had the great fortune of receiving, or there was a student who visited us. He's here for Sukkot. After Sukkot, he went back to the States, or to Montreal, where he was from. And he gives me a call a couple of days later. He's in the ICU. His grandfather was ill, unfortunately. And he tells me, Usher, you'll never believe this. I said, what happened? He said, I'm sitting in the ICU in the waiting room over there. And there's a guy who says to me, hey, I see you're a yeshiva student and you have a tan. The sun hasn't been out here for a while in Montreal. Where's your tan from? So he says, well, actually, I was in the Virgin Islands. So this fellow, Jewish fellow with a good sense of humor says to him, in the Virgin Islands, what's a yeshiva bacher doing in the Virgin Islands? So he says, well, I was actually there helping out the Chabad rabbi. So this guy says, sitting in Montreal, he says, the Chabad, let me tell you a story about Chabad in the Virgin Islands. And he says, 11 months ago, my family and I were on a cruise. And we get off the cruise, we're walking down Main Street, and we're stopped by two students. And they ask us if we have a menorah. It's Hanukkah. And we hadn't brought a menorah with us. So we said, no, we don't. I took out my wallet. Student said, no, we don't want your wallet. We don't want money. We want, a commitment that you're going to light the menorah together with your children for the rest of Hanukkah. So this guy, Jeff Solomon, says, absolutely. How could I turn down such an offer? We have a deal. Takes the menorah. He says, I go on the ship. That night, we're sitting in the cafeteria. And my daughter says to me, Dad, with the family extended, he says, we got a menorah today. Let's light it. So I said to my daughter, we'll go upstairs to the cabin and we'll light it up there. She says, no, Dad, the family's here. Everyone's here together. We're eating dinner. Let's light it down here right now. Let's do it all together. I said, you know what? If your brother runs upstairs with you, brings down the menorah, no problem. She runs upstairs with her older brother, brings down the menorah. This is in Montreal. He's telling this story to Zalmi in the ICU. And we put it on the table. We made the blessings together. We lit the candles. And then afterwards, we sang Ma'os Tzur, and it was just absolutely beautiful sitting down there in the cafeteria, sailing out, in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, able to see the lights in the distant, from the various islands. And here the candles are lit. It was just so beautiful. So Zalmi, the student, says to him, wow, Jeff, that's incredible. That's absolutely, he says, no, that's not the story. Within a half hour, over 70 tables brought down the menorahs that they got that day from the students in St. Thomas, and they lit the candles in the cafeteria. He said, I never in my life had such a powerful Jewish experience.
It's absorbing and bringing.
I'm sorry?
That is, you're absorbing, and then he's sharing it with them. Fantastic. Rabbi, appreciate your time. Apologize for my laryngitis. Really enjoyed hearing from you. Enjoy hearing all about the Virgin Islands. Hatzlacha on your shlichus. Thanks for spending time with us. We got someone who'd like to jump in here and ask a question.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hey, Rabbi, how are you
today? Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. We're going to come see you in February.
We're looking forward.
So the question you just talked about is, what is it that you need that you can't get on the island that if we can obtain here, other than Rachel Epstein, all right, they're duplicating her, that you need? I
was just going to say that. I mean, that's what we need. And to stick around for the rest of the year.
It's out of his purview.
I'll tell you, thank you very much. And we'll think about it and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Let us know.
Okay.
We will be in contact with you. Okay.
Love it.
Looking forward
Beautiful.
to seeing you.
Looking forward to seeing you too.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody. Sei gesund. Be well. And all the best. Hatzlacha Rabbah.
Okay, everybody. Tomorrow night, 8:30 is Maimer. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you again to Rabbi Federman. I'll send out the recording. Thank you.
Okay, sure.